Go in the lobby here, or countdown. All right. No one's in the lobby yet. Wait till a couple people trickle in. Text Chad. Let's see here. We're live on YouTube as well. Shaolin just gave us the thumbs up from the dentist. Office. For some people to come in. Looks like we have somebody in the audience. Got a couple people in the audience now. We're going to go ahead and get started here at 5:05 Eastern. Is that 3:05?
3:05. That's right.
Here comes Lisa, another Lease End partner here. All right, couple more minutes till we're joined. We'll kick things off. Learn a little bit more about DIMO's newest ecosystem partner. All right. There we go. All right, cool. Well, let's kick things off here. We're getting some people in the audience. Welcome, you guys, to another community event. I know we did a last one with Tenet. Really excited to talk about our newest community, our newest ecosystem partner here, Lease End. Really, I mean, Alex, you can talk a little bit more about it, but this is an ecosystem partner that is really, really built on utility. And there's a really good reason why we chose to partner with Lease End that was rooted in, a need of you. So if you wanted to kick off and kind of talk a little bit about how we found Lease End, I think you're the perfect person to talk to.
Yeah, well, I'll even take a step back and, for those who are new to learning about DIMO and the DIMO ecosystem, we're building an open connected vehicle platform here at DIMO. What that means is we're giving users a chance to connect their car to something other than what their OEM app gives them. So if you have a Ford and a Ford app, or a Toyota and a Toyota app, or a Tesla and a Tesla app, you have an alternative, and you might not even have gotten an app with your car. So what we're building at DIMO is an amazing app that you can use to store the data from your vehicle, and importantly, access a whole wide range of services in the ways you're already spending money on your car. So we've already added a bunch of folks to the ecosystem that do things like help you refinance, and we'll talk a lot about that. We've got a bunch of other partners coming to the ecosystem who help with everything from maintenance to carbon offsets to all kinds of cool things that you can do with your vehicle data. What brings us here today? I actually am in the process of going through a lease end process with Lease End right now myself. I bought a new car or leased a car early last year, and have learned along the way that there's some really great opportunities out there for folks like me who can save a bunch of money if you go through that process. And I'm really excited. That's I think the best thing that we can do when people say, well, what do I care to own my vehicle data or do something with the data? Well, there's all kinds of ways that you can save money and be a better car owner if you just know what steps to take. So yeah, we're glad to have Lisa End here, and Colin, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, I think one thing that was pretty apparent when we were looking over Alex's like car finances, be like, wait, there might be a way to save money here. Something that was really abundantly clear was that he was kind of tricked by the dealership into signing something that he was overpaying on, and that was his lease. And so I think that kind of goes well with Xander. From what I've learned about Lease End and how they came to be. I've learned that misinformation and giving information back to the user is a big part of what Lease End is doing. And so Xander, I'd like to hear from you to kind of hear about as one of the co-founders of Lease End. How did Lease End come to be? What's your kind of background before Lease End, and kind of to walk us through the story that resulted in us being here today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks to Alex for trusting us with his lease buyout. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, no, so I actually have a history in the auto dealership world. My family's owned car dealerships. My grandpa, my dad, kind of been through the generations. So I kind of grew up in that world, and saw a lot of the issues that um, arise in a dealership world, mainly around ease of transacting. The entire auto industry is just pretty archaic, as I'm sure you guys are pretty aware. Um, not not modern. They like to do things old school. So um, really, this Lease End was actually born out of one of our dealerships. We would help a lot of people buy out their auto leases, and people really liked the service, and kind of dawned on us that there might be a way to technologize that business and take it national and really provide a slick, easy, convenient way for people to buy out their lease and end their lease completely online without having to go back into a dealership. So that's really what got us going. We launched back in February of 20 or yep, February of 21. So just coming up on 2 years here in about a month, and just been growing like crazy. So it's been a heck of a ride, but that's the quick and dirty of Lease End right there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really valuable, that you come from the dealership world. My background kind of is in dealerships. My father as well worked in dealerships his whole life. And so growing up around dealerships, at first, when I was, in college, I wanted to be part of a dealership. But similar to how you felt like, I feel like there's a lot more good that can be done for in terms of the vehicle transaction, and in tying DIMO, the amount of data that we're getting from vehicles, I think down the line is going to help inform, maybe potentially lowering interest rates. If a lender is able to know a lot more about the vehicle and have more confidence in the vehicle, they're probably more likely to lower those interest rates and give you a better deal on your lease or your loan. And so that's kind of the future that we're looking at, and we're super excited to get there. And obviously, I think what we want, it's one thing to talk about, what we can do and what Lease End is and everything. I think it's a whole other thing to actually show it. And so I think right now I want to pull up a quick sheet that we made that kind of shows Alex's transaction and shows how much money he's going to save as a result of actually transacting with Lease End. So I'm going to pull this up really quick.
And I'll just add some, as you do that, Colin, I'll just add some background to it. I mean, I was pretty blown away when Colin was showing me the math on how this worked. And, it's just something that is, it's an opportunity that you might not know is out there. So it was really interesting for me to see that. And as I'm going through the process here, Lease End's making it pretty easy to follow through on that. So I'm excited to get that done and get it all sorted out. But Colin, go ahead.
Perfect. Loading up my screen here. All right, perfect. So basically, this is kind of going to show you how Alex is going to be saving a ton of money. And so if you point in the direction of the left column, that was his situation before, right? His monthly payment was $649, but his interest rate was 9.02%. And this was kind of prior to the whole interest rate spiking even. And so this was deemed to be a pretty bad deal. And the reason why he signed an agreement like this was the interest rate was kind of disguised as what's called a money factor, which is kind of the same thing as an interest rate when you're signing up for a lease. It's harder to know whether a money factor is high or low. It's less common knowledge, and so it's actually a pretty common thing for people to be tricked into high money factor leases. And so once you look at his actual situation, over the life of his lease, he'd be spending around $25,000. But because less of it is going to less of the amount of money that he's spending on a monthly basis would be going to the actual principal of the vehicle, what he's paying off his vehicle. His equity on the vehicle, it is a RAV4, so he has pretty strong equity compared to the residual value. But it's $8,000, right? Pretty good equity. But what we saw was if he was able to refinance that loan with a service like Lease End, he can get a lower interest rate. So if you see there, he's getting a 6.3% interest rate through Lease End services. Now, obviously, the caveats there, obviously we can't guarantee low interest rates. There's a lot more factors involved, like credit score, history, a lot of things like that. But for Alex specifically, this was a 6.3% interest rate. And if you look, his monthly payment actually went up a little bit and his total spend went up a little bit as well. And so to him, he's like, well, what is this actually? Am I actually getting a better deal for this?
I had to ask Colin that. Yeah.
He sent me a couple emails like, are we sure I'm saving money here? But he is, right? If you look at the actual structure of the loan, he's paying a lot more down to the principal, which at the same point, he would have had $8,000 of equity with his lease. He's going to have $18,000 of equity in his vehicle with having this loan. And so that's, an extreme amount of savings that really he wouldn't have had. He would have he'd been in a much worse situation with his vehicle. Granted, it's still strong having $8,000 of equity, but the amount of the better situation that he'll be in with $18,000 of equity after the same amount of time is significant. And so I think this transaction is a great way to show, obviously Alex, being one of the co-founders of DIMO, actually getting these savings from a DIMO ecosystem partner right off the bat is really, really cool. And that's kind of why we're so excited to be launching this partnership, so that you guys can all the DIMO users out there can also have access to these sort of savings by going through the Lease End process. If you're eligible.
So Colin, let me ask you, how did we get here? Luckily, I was able to talk to you and work with you on this, and you could make a recommendation for something like Lease End. But
yeah,
there's sort of what did you look at in terms of actually looking at my lease docs, and then we can eventually, Xander, I'd love to hear from you, is how do most people figure out that they're a good candidate for this? And how can we let people in the DIMO community know who might be thinking about this or think, oh, this wouldn't apply to me? But Colin, maybe start with what were you looking for in my situation? And then let's open it up to how do other people figure out?
Yeah. So, I mean, as some DIMO users will know, there is another ecosystem partner on the platform called Vehicle Genius. help run Vehicle Genius as well. And Alex signed up for the service. And what Vehicle Genius is the idea of it is to take all your DIMO data as well as some other pieces of data and kind of get an overall spend report on your vehicle and see what you're potentially overspending. So as a part of a Genius report, we look at your loan or lease details. We look at, if you're spending on any warranties, we look at your Carfax. We look at as much car data as possible, as well as your DIMO data, to make informed recommendations. And so when Alex sent me his lease documents, I started looking, and that the figure that I was most interested in was that money factor, because as somebody who has worked in the car industry, I know that money factor is directly related to interest rate. And so when I found the money factor, it's to find on these lease documents. These leasing companies, they know what they're doing. They make it hard to find, but I ended up finding it, and I ran a calculation. I forget what the exact calculation is to get interest rate from money factor, but it's a simple calculation. Xander, you might be able to know better than me. But basically,
yeah, you multiply it by like 2,400 or something weird. Like they chose like some random number, and I don't even.
Yeah, it seems to us like a tactic for these leasing companies just to confuse people, because they may know what a high interest rate is, but they don't know what a high money factor is. I think I texted Alex right away. I said, I think, and I think we can do something about it. And that's kind of how we got down this rabbit hole of trying to find a way to get him a new refinance lease.
Yeah. So Xander, how do customers typically find out about Lease End and figure out that they're a right fit?
Yeah, so we do a lot of marketing, and we try and reach out to everybody who's coming to the end of their lease. And make sure that we're getting in front of them. So whether that's through direct mail or digital marketing, however we market to them, we try and get in front of people who are close to the end of their lease. And our main value prop being that, hey, you've built up all this equity over the life of your lease, right? And if you just go take that car and you turn it back into the dealership, all that equity is gone. You're just giving it away to the leasing companies, right? So the way that you can keep your equity and capitalize on all those 3, 4, whatever years worth of payments you've made is to buy out the lease, to get a loan, to purchase out the remaining, basically the residual value of your lease, and continue to make payments on it with a traditional loan. So that's our main value prop. And then obviously we do that in a streamlined way. We've done a ton of work in terms of integrating financial institutions, banks, and as well as different data sources to make this a streamlined 100% online process that anybody can do from the comfort of their couch.
So most people are actually, unlike me, who's doing this relatively early into my lease, most people are actually coming towards the end of their lease, and they might be thinking, okay, I'm just turning in this car, but instead this is an alternative route for them.
100%. Yeah. It's like, hey, I love this car. I've been driving it for 3 years. My lease is up. I don't want to get rid of it. What are my other options? And, this is another option. If they want to keep their car, want to capture their equity, whatever reason they don't want to turn that lease back in, this gives them the option to continue to keep the car. Awesome. But yeah, that's the majority of our customers. But we do, it isn't uncommon. I would say probably about a quarter of our customers are similar to you, Alex, where they're a year into their lease. They, want to, they can lower their payment or, lower the amount of interest they're paying, or, they want to give the car to their kid, or whatever reason, they need to change the lease into a loan. So we help a ton of those people as well. So
awesome. Yeah. So I think at this point, like, we kind of kicked it off already, but we'll start the Q&A session. So any live viewers, if you have a question, feel free to send it in the chat. But just start, I wrote a list of questions just because, as somebody who has helped Alex go through the process, I have general questions as well. I'd love to know, I think the answer to this is it depends on the situation you're in, but, in general, how long does this process take from when you first sign up on the website to having a successfully refinanced loan?
Yeah, it totally depends upon the customer. So if you want to do it and you want to have it done today, it'll be done today. When people come and do this online process, most of the time approvals are instant. or worst case scenario, we have an approval within 15 minutes. All of the documents are e-signed documents. They'll all be emailed to you. So it can be done same day, even within, I think our records, like we've done one in like 20 something minutes before.
Wow.
So
Wow.
like it can go pretty quick if you want to just if you want to put the pedal to the metal. So.
That's
Yeah,
really
I think
cool.
I dragged my feet a little bit. I went back. I had a couple questions on email, but then once I had all the details, I just got busy, and I was right around the holidays too, so I took a little bit longer time. But I'm not taking too long. It's really just a couple of weeks, and it's the type of thing. It's a pretty good amount of savings for a few weeks.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, is everybody can go at their own pace, right? That guy who did it in 20 minutes can do it in 20 minutes, and you can do it in a couple of weeks. And you don't have to every time you want to make a change or sign a document, you have to drive down to the dealership and spend half your day down there. So,
yep,
yeah, I can kind of, my next question kind of goes in. I can kind of envision a situation where somebody had, a Toyota RAV4 or a 4Runner or something that holds their value very well. They go in the dealership to turn it in, like, let me get it appraised. Why not? Just to see. And then, they end up getting a higher appraisal. Like, wait a minute, this number's way higher than my residual value. It's on my lease. And so it's good to know that, my question was, how quickly can the process take if you're in a bind? But it seems like, less than 30 minutes is possible. So that's a really cool, that's really, really awesome that you can help somebody that, kind of finds out the same day, like, crap, this turning in my car might not be the best situation for me. How can I capitalize on it?
Yeah, we process thousands of lease buyouts. So, we've got this process dialed in at this point. So
very cool. I'd love to hear from you. Like, what are any future plans for Lease End in terms of like growth, and like, if you want to give us a picture of what the next 2 to 3 years looks like for Lease End, I'd love to hear kind of what your guys' plans are.
Yeah, right now we're just hyper focused on the lease buyout option at the end of the lease. So when somebody comes into their lease, there's generally like 3 options available to them, right? First one is to just take it back into the dealership, turn it in, be done with it. That's one of the cool things about a lease. If you're underwater on it, if you don't like the vehicle or whatever, you can just turn it back in and just be done with it. Second options, kind of what we specialize in right now, is buying out that lease, refinancing it, or just paying cash, whatever, buying out that lease and keeping the vehicle. And then the third one is actually selling your vehicle, right? You don't necessarily want to keep it, but you don't want to turn it back in because you have equity. You can buy it out and then turn around and sell it. You keep the equity and you go buy something else. So we really we're just laser focused in on that second option of helping people who want to keep their car at the end of the lease. So we're just focused on adding as many new features as possible to make that as streamlined and easy as it possibly can be. We're experimenting with a lot of cool things right now that not ready to reveal, but we in the next couple months we're going to have some cool new things rolling off the shelf, and we just really want to just become the experts in lease buyouts.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys are on your way too. I think the sell your car option could be really, really cool. Like, like giving somebody an alternative to just turning in their car, even if they don't want it. Just like, yeah, I want to sell my car. Hey, you walked into this dealership expecting to just hand the keys off and not get any money. Instead, you're getting a check for X amount of thousands of dollars because you went through this. That seems like a really, really cool and powerful thing down the line that you could potentially tap into.
So we actually dabbled in that a lot last year. And at one point, we were actually buying a lot of people's leases. So they would come to us and we would give them an offer and say, hey, if you just want to end your lease completely online and sell us your lease, then we did that. We got out of that because we just didn't want to have the risk of holding a bunch of vehicles in inventory and the market turning, because then we would then take them and we would run them to auction and offload them. And we had an entire nationwide logistics network set up. We were picking everybody's vehicles up at their houses, and it's just a lot of work. So we shut it down, but I think we're noodling with some other ideas where we could spin that back up using some different business models. So we're hoping that sooner or later we'll be able to get back into that business. So
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's really interesting to hear that you actually dabbled in that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the car industry the last 3 years has been pretty dang unpredictable and insane. And so, yeah, so probably not the worst decision to get out of the selling cars game, especially, in the last like 8 or 9 months.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I'd love to kind of show the viewers here what it looks like if you land at Lease End's homepage and how easy the process is to get started. Because that's kind of one of the things when I was looking for a service to help Alex for, I was like, I wanted this to be as easy as possible. I was like, oh, this thing is super easy. So let me just pull this up really quick here. All right, let's go here. All right, so can you guys see this this Lease End homepage right here?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So obviously shows all your stats here. Giving yourself some credibility. But in terms of getting started, it's like the easiest thing in the world. I have a VIN number here that we can just get started with the show. Boom, here's a 2022 RAV4. It looks good. And then I think it's just a matter of putting in location. I think the next steps after this are like, location, odometer, just some basic information. And then Xander, at what point in the process does it become a little bit more concierge-like? Because I know one of the things that's really, really strong about you guys is the fact that, you're really, really on top of it with your customer service. And once you get to a certain point, it's kind of, you're talking to a person. You're not just talking to, the website. So at what point does that process take place? The handoff?
Yeah. So that can happen anywhere, whenever you want it to happen. Right. So a lot of people don't even want to mess with the website. They just want to call somebody up and they want to give all their information over the phone. A lot of people are driving or whatever, they hear about us in the car. And so that's totally an option. If you want to just do this entire process completely over the phone, you can. It can also be done completely digitally if you never even want to talk to anybody. And then anywhere in between where you want the handoff to happen to where, most people, that's about when they start to sign contracts or they have questions about rates or about approvals. That's when most people generally will start talking to one of our reps. But yeah, it can happen however you want it to.
Yeah, it's kind of like, so it seems like this process is like, it's whatever the user wants to make of it. If you want like a completely online experience and just submitting docs and never talking to anybody, you could probably do that. But if you want to make it a whole like white glove concierge service and just talk to somebody, you can have that experience. That's a really cool thing as well. Cool. Well, I think, this has been a great chat. Really, Xander, I really enjoyed talking and learning more about the Lease End process. Obviously, even as somebody that's helped Alex go through it, like, learning your background and learning about, your guys' inner workings has been really valuable to me. And there's a reason why you guys are one of the very first DIMO ecosystem partners. And we're really, really excited about this. We're really excited about onboarding new ecosystem partners with the goal of every time that a DIMO user spends money on their vehicle, you might as well spend money with a DIMO ecosystem partner. And so, happy to have you on this ecosystem team. And I think that pretty much wraps up another ecosystem community event.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for having us on, guys.
Thanks for joining, Xander.
Awesome.
Part of the ecosystem as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye, everybody.